Bones are important. Bones hold us upright. The skull protects the most important organ in the body and yet the most delicate organ in the body, which is the brain. The only exposed bone in the whole body are teeth. Dentists make a fortune because so many people, their teeth are breaking down. If anyone's on calcium supplements, don't take them. Let me show you why. Bones are not made of calcium. They're made of 12 minerals, which is boron, calcium, chromium. You know, chromium helps get those blood sugars right. Iron, magnesium, manganese, potassium, and phosphorus, selenium, sulfur, silica, zinc. There's your 12 minerals. That's what your bones are made up of. And 64 trace minerals. When you take calcium supplements into your body, you get an overload of calcium. The body goes, whoa, and it shuts down the adrenal glands to hold on to magnesium to try and get the balance. And the effect of that is to cause the kidneys to release potassium and sodium. You get this huge imbalance. What is the best way to strengthen your bones? Take the minerals that your bones are made up of.
Do you feel constant aches and pains in your whole body that make even basic movements like walking or bending a struggle? Or do you worry about breaking a bone from a small fall or bump? Then I'm sorry to tell you this. You are already in danger. And what caused this issue is the simple cooking oil in your pantry that's silently sabotaging your health. You might think it's harmless or even healthy, but Barbara O'Neill is here to reveal the shocking truth about sunflower oil. Is this everyday staple fueling inflammation and joint pain without you even realizing it? In this video, discover the hidden dangers lurking in your favorite healthy oil and learn game-changing alternatives to safeguard your bones and overall well-being. The hidden dangers of sunflower oil. We are talking about sunflower oil, the stuff so many of us use without even thinking twice. It's cheap, doesn't taste like much, and works for pretty much everything in the kitchen. But there's a sneaky little problem with sunflower oil that most people never even hear about. And it all comes down to these things called omega-6 fatty acids.
Let's have a look at sunflower. Sunflower is high in omega-6. 6 indicates the position on the fatty acid chain of the first double bond. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there it is there. And there are 2 double bonds in sunflower. So 1, 2, 3, there's another one there. So you've got hydrogen atoms along here, hydrogen here, hydrogen atoms here, hydrogen atoms along here, and you've got 2 repelling actions. So as a result, there are 2 kinks. This is not as thin an oil as the flaxseed or linseed, but it's still quite a thin oil. So it's given the name polyunsaturated fatty acid as well, because it has more than 1 double bond and there are a couple of unsaturated spots on the fatty acid chain. What are the dangerous oils? The worst oils you can take are the altered polyunsaturated fats. So the very word poly meaning there's lots of empty spaces on the molecular structure of the fat, which means that when these oils are extracted and they're exposed to light, heat and oxygen, it basically destroys the oil. What are your polyunsaturated oils? That's safflower oil, sunflower oil, peanut oils, your seed oils, your nut oils. And when you look in the supermarket, they're in plastic bottles, see-through. It doesn't matter because they've already been totally destroyed, because in the high heat to extract these oils destroyed the oils. And deep fried foods is usually done in these cheap polyunsaturated fats. Again, they're already destroyed before they're even cooked, but the oils become rancid, and a rancid oil is a carcinogenic oil.
Omega-6 isn't evil or anything. Your body actually needs a bit of it to function properly. But too much omega-6, especially when it's not balanced out with enough omega-3 fatty acids, can cause some serious problems. Imagine your body's immune system is like a firefighter. When you get hurt or sick, it sends in the crew to put out the fire. That's inflammation. But if you keep eating way too much omega-6, it's like the firefighter goes wild and starts spraying water everywhere, even where there's no fire. That's what we call chronic inflammation, and it's really bad for your body. Chronic inflammation has been tied to a whole mess of health problems. Heart disease? Check. Diabetes? Check. Even some cancers are linked to it. And here's the kicker. Sunflower oil and other oils loaded with omega-6 are in so many things we eat without even realizing it. Chips, cookies, fast food, you name it. If you live on those kinds of foods, your omega-6 levels are probably through the roof. Scientists say the ideal balance between omega-6 and omega-3 in our diet should be around 4:1. But for most people, it's more like 20:1 or even worse. And all that extra inflammation from omega-6 doesn't just mess with your heart or your gut, it can mess with your bones too. Your body is constantly breaking down and rebuilding bone tissue, like a construction site that never closes. Inflammation throws a wrench in that process. It tells the demolition crew to go full speed while the builders slow down, which weakens your bones over time. That's why people who eat a lot of inflammatory foods are more likely to get osteoporosis, a condition where bones become brittle and break super easily. And let's not forget about your joints. Do you ever feel stiff or achy after a long day? Well, inflammation could be making it worse. A diet heavy in omega-6 can turn mild joint pain into a full-blown problem, especially if you already have something like arthritis. It's like adding fuel to a fire. The more omega-6 you eat, the more your joints suffer. Studies have even found that switching to an anti-inflammatory diet rich in omega-3s, like the kind you get from fish or flax seeds, can actually reduce pain and make your joints feel better. I came across this study that really stuck with me. It showed that people who balanced out their omega-6 and omega-3 intake had stronger bones as they aged and were less likely to deal with fractures. And there's this other study where people with joint pain saw real improvement just by cutting down on omega-6 heavy foods and adding in more omega-3. But don't think sunflower oil is going to ruin your life overnight. Only when you're using it all the time, maybe frying up snacks, drizzling it on salads, or eating processed foods that are packed with it, it starts to add up. Little by little, that inflammation builds, and before you know it, you've got joint pain, weaker bones, or even bigger health issues. The misconception of healthy oils. The problem starts with how sunflower oil is always advertised as this super healthy option. Like, it's light, it's heart-friendly, it's plant-based. Sounds great, right? If it's from plants, it's got to be good for you. That's what they want us to believe anyway. But the truth is not that simple. The way it's made and used these days can actually cause more harm than good. Let me break it down for you.
You see on the supermarket shelf maybe peanut oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. Notice that they're all in clear bottles, plastic bottles. It's no use to put them in dark bottles because they're already totally destroyed. So don't touch those oils. The only oils that I use are the coconut oil and the olive oil. Where do I get my polyunsaturated fats? I get it from the food that I'm eating. I get it from eating the seeds and the nuts. That's the best place to get it because they deteriorate so quickly.
Sunflower seeds are packed with nutrients like vitamin E and antioxidants. But when they're turned into oil, especially the kind we usually buy at the store, most of those nutrients are lost in the process. Raw sunflower oil might have some health perks, but the refined stuff, that's a different story. Plus, to make that oil look pretty and last longer on the shelf, manufacturers use heat and chemicals. It's not just about cleaning up the oil. This process creates something nasty called trans fats. And trust me, these are not your friends. Trans fats are like the villains of the food world. They mess up your heart by raising your bad cholesterol and lowering the good kind. Even just a little bit of trans fat in your diet can make your risk of heart disease shoot up by 23%. And then there's how sunflower oil behaves when you cook with it. You've probably heard it's good for frying because it doesn't burn easily. That's true, but here's the catch. When you heat it again and again, like in deep frying, it starts breaking down and releasing toxic stuff called oxidized lipids. These damaged fats can cause inflammation in your body, and chronic inflammation isn't something you want. It's been linked to big problems like cancer, arthritis, and even Alzheimer's. One study found that heating sunflower oil repeatedly made its toxic byproducts increase by over 30%. In addition to that, a lot of refined sunflower oil is deodorized to get rid of any weird smells. This process can create something called 3-MCPD. Ever heard of it? It's been flagged as potentially carcinogenic, like cancer-causing. It's also been linked to kidney damage and fertility problems in animal studies. Doesn't exactly sound like the kind of thing you want in your cooking oil. And while we're at it, let's not ignore the environmental side of things. Growing all those sunflowers to keep up with demand takes a toll on the soil, sucking out nutrients and often requiring synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Those chemicals? They don't just vanish, they can stick around in the oil, which means we're probably consuming some of that too. So here's the deal. Sunflower oil isn't the shiny, healthy option it's made out to be. If you're using a little unrefined sunflower oil, that's fine. But the highly processed stuff that's everywhere, from the bottles on store shelves to the fried food we eat, is dangerous. It's sneaky because it's marketed like it's the healthiest thing ever, but when you dig a little deeper, you see it's not as sunny as it seems. Healthier alternatives to sunflower oil. But if not sunflower oil, what should you use? That's what you are probably thinking right now. Well, the answer is olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil. These aren't just fancy ingredients for cooking, they're packed with stuff that can make your body super happy. Let me explain.
What are your polyunsaturated oils? That's safflower oil, sunflower oil, peanut oils, your seed oils, your nut oils. And when you look in the supermarket, they're in plastic bottles, see-through. It doesn't matter because they've already been totally destroyed, because in the high heat to extract these oils destroyed the oils. And deep fried foods is usually done in these cheap polyunsaturated fats. Again, they're already destroyed before they're even cooked, but the oils become rancid, and a rancid oil is a carcinogenic oil.
First up, olive oil. This stuff is like liquid sunshine for your insides. It's full of these special fats called monounsaturated fats, which are the good kind. They don't mess up your heart like those greasy fast food fries. Instead, they help your heart keep doing its job without breaking a sweat. Olive oil can calm inflammation down. Think of it like putting aloe on a sunburn, but inside your body. And people who use olive oil regularly might cut their chances of having a heart attack by almost half. That's huge. Plus, it's got antioxidants, which are like tiny cleaners that fix up damage in your cells. Olive oil might even help keep your bones from getting weak as you age. Fewer broken bones, fewer problems. Now, avocado oil is a bit of a show-off too. You know those creamy green avocados? That's where it comes from. Avocado oil is loaded with healthy fats and vitamins that make your bones thick and strong. Imagine your bones as a bridge. If it's built with good materials, it's not going to crumble. This oil does exactly that for your body. And here's a cool trick. Avocado oil doesn't go bad when you cook it at high temperatures. Some oils get all weird and release nasty stuff when they're heated too much, but avocado oil? It doesn't. It's not just good for cooking. It helps lower bad cholesterol, making your blood flow smoother. And bonus points. It's good for your eyes too, thanks to something called lutein, which protects them from the stuff that makes eyesight worse over time. Then we've got coconut oil.
What about the coconut? Notice that these three are all 18-chain fatty acids. That's called long-chain fatty acids. Whereas the coconut, it is a combination of short-chain fatty acids and medium-chain fatty acids. So the short-chain fatty acids would be 6, 8, 10 chains. The medium-chain fatty acid would be 12, 14, 16 chains. I've drawn a 10 here. The coconut has no double bonds. So every spot is full. And notice in the coconut oil on the bench where you do your oil pulling, it's solid. That's right. So it's called a saturated fat. It's solid in the fridge. When I'm in Fiji, it's nearly always liquid because it is hot. And so it melts.
This one's got these fats called medium-chain triglycerides or MCTs. Fancy name, but all you need to know is that they give you energy fast, like lightning fast. Instead of being stored as fat, they turn into fuel for your body. It's like having an instant energy drink, but healthier. Coconut oil is also a champ at helping people with achy joints. If your knees are creaky or your back's bothering you, a little coconut oil in your food might just make a difference. And here's something kind of mind-blowing. Researchers are looking into how coconut oil might help people with Alzheimer's. It gives their brains an extra energy boost, which is super promising.
They asked me, is coconut oil good for you? Because they had been told that it was bad. And so I asked them a question. Were your ancestors healthy? There was a silence. And then these 5,000 Fijians began to laugh. Because they were very healthy. When Captain Cook landed on the South Pacific Islands, he was confronted with the most magnificent specimens of humanity he had ever seen. The men were tall, strong, agile. They had perfect teeth. The women were very beautiful. They had beautiful, long, silky hair. In some islands, it was a little shorter. He had a little bit of trouble with his men. The women were so beautiful. And what did they eat every meal? Coconut oil. They have coconut every meal.
So you can apply a little olive oil to your salad, a splash of avocado oil in your stir-fry, or a spoonful of coconut oil in your coffee. It's easy to add them to your day. They will support your health and well-being. Practical tips for reducing omega-6 intake. People are always talking about fats being bad for you, but that's not entirely true. There are good fats and not so good fats, and the trick is figuring out which is which. Let me explain it in a way that makes sense. Imagine there are two types of fats working in your body, omega-6 and omega-3. Think of omega-6 as the firefighter who shows up to deal with emergencies, like when you get a cut or catch a cold. It's supposed to create some inflammation to protect you. But then there's omega-3, the peacemaker. Its job is to come in afterward and calm things down once the crisis is over. The problem? These two are supposed to work together. But in most people's diets, omega-6 is running wild, creating fires everywhere, while omega-3 is barely showing up at the party. Why is that happening? Well, let's talk about the stuff we eat. Processed foods are the big villains here. Chips, cookies, packaged snacks. All that tasty junk is loaded with oils like soybean, corn, and sunflower oil, which are packed with omega-6. So, no wonder our bodies are getting inflamed, which leads to stuff like heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. But here's the good news. You don't have to do anything extreme to fix this. Just a few small changes can make a big difference. First, try cutting back on the omega-6 stuff. That means saying no thanks to those greasy fries or skipping the prepackaged salad dressing that's loaded with bad oils. Instead, load up on foods that are rich in omega-3s. You know, stuff like salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds. Did you know that eating just 2 servings of fatty fish a week can seriously cut your risk of heart disease? Plus, omega-3s are like brain food. They even help kids focus better in school.
When I give you an understanding, it's not hard to determine what are the best fats. We're going to begin by looking at flaxseed or linseed. It's the same thing. It is high in an essential fatty acid. See that word, essential fatty acid, EFA. Whenever you see the word essential, it means the body cannot make it. You've got to put it in. Omega-3 is an essential fatty acid, meaning the body cannot make it. The fact is that no creature can. Only plants can put omega-3 into their fatty acid chain. And what are we told is the highest source of omega-3? Fish. Why are fish high? Fish are high because they eat a one-celled algae that is high. I've got some good news. You don't have to eat the one-celled algae. You can eat the ground flaxseed or the chia seed.
Another sneaky trick is to watch what oils you're using in the kitchen. As we discussed earlier, switch to olive oil or avocado oil. Olive oil has been around forever in Mediterranean diets, and people who use it regularly tend to live longer and have fewer health problems. And don't forget to check the labels on the foods you buy. You'd be surprised how many everyday things like bread or peanut butter have hidden omega-6 oils. Look out for words like vegetable oil or hydrogenated oil, and try to pick brands that use better ingredients. It might take an extra minute at the store, but trust me, it's worth it. You'd be surprised to know that in countries like Japan, where people eat way more omega-3s, the rates of heart disease are insanely low, like 1/3 of what they are in the US. Now, this doesn't mean you have to give up your favorite foods or become some health nut. It's about making easy swaps. Love cooking? Just use olive oil instead of sunflower oil. Craving a snack? Grab some walnuts or a piece of smoked salmon instead of reaching for chips. And if you are already suffering from something like bone spurs, do this.
There is a way to get rid of a bone spur. It's castor oil compresses. Get a little pad of cloth, moisten it with castor oil, put it on, put some plastic over it, bandage it on every night. If the bone spur's been there 3 years, it might take 3 months. If the bone spur's been there 3 months, might take 3 weeks. If the bone spur's been there 3 weeks, might take 3 days. So it depends how long it's been there. But I've got some good news. It'll never break down your bone. Do you remember Psalm 104 verse 14, where the Bible says God gave herbs for the service of man? Medicine calls it synergism, working with the needs of the body.
Success stories and testimonials. Let me tell you about a few people who have experienced some pretty amazing changes in their health, all because they decided to stop using certain oils in their cooking. It might sound simple, but the results have been shocking to them, especially when it comes to joint pain and bone health. Take Sarah, for example. She had been dealing with severe joint pain for years. Her knees and hips would ache all the time, and it was getting harder for her to do simple things like walk up the stairs or even play with her kids. She'd been using vegetable oils like corn oil and sunflower oil, which are packed with omega-6 fatty acids. After learning about how these oils could contribute to inflammation, she thought, why not give it a try? She switched to healthier oils like olive oil and coconut oil, and within a couple of weeks, she noticed something incredible. Her pain started to fade. After a few months, she could hardly feel any pain at all. Her joints felt looser, and she could move around like she hadn't been able to in years. Sarah was amazed. Her doctor was even surprised by how much better she was doing. It was like she got her life back. Then there's John. This guy had been struggling with really bad bone pain because of osteoarthritis. He had tried everything. Medications, treatments, you name it. Nothing really worked, and he was just getting worse. But after attending a seminar by Dr. Barbara O'Neill, where she talked about how the oils we eat can affect our bones and joints, he thought of trying it. So, he made the change. He stopped using oils like canola and soybean oil and switched to olive oil and avocado oil. It didn't take long before John started noticing a huge difference. His bone pain started easing up, and after a few months, he was walking around without pain. Something he hadn't been able to do in years. His doctor was in total disbelief. John even started playing sports again, which he thought was impossible because of his condition. He said it felt like he got his life back. Dr. Barbara O'Neill has worked with a lot of clients who've seen similar results. One of them, Mary, had been battling chronic pain from rheumatoid arthritis. She had tried every treatment under the sun, but nothing seemed to help. After working with Dr. O'Neill, she decided to cut out those omega-6 heavy oils and start using healthier ones like flaxseed and olive oil. And guess what? Within 6 months, her pain levels dropped significantly. She could do things she hadn't been able to do in years, like gardening and walking long distances. Her doctor was amazed at how well she was doing, especially since her inflammation markers had dropped so much. And then there's Tom. He had been suffering from knee pain for over a decade, and he'd gotten to the point where just walking upstairs or bending down was a challenge. He was on painkillers almost every day, but they only helped for a little while. When he heard Dr. O'Neill talk about how omega-6 oils could be making his pain worse, he decided to give it a shot. He switched to healthier oils, like olive oil, and within a few weeks, he started feeling better. His knee pain got a lot less intense, and after a few months, he didn't need painkillers anymore. He was able to get back to his normal exercise routine, which he thought was completely out of the question. Tom said it felt like he'd gotten back a part of his life he thought he'd lost forever.
God never designed bones to weaken. Something is happening that is weakening the bones. In the Himalayan mountains, there's a group of people called the Hunzas who never experience osteoporosis. In fact, disease is rare. These people live in the mountains. They breathe the freshest of air. There's no fast food shops there. They're very fit. They live in the mountains, so climbing up and down the hills every day gives them strong muscles. When you exercise, you not only strengthen your muscles, you're strengthening your bones. The blood supply increases to the bones. Remember, Leviticus 17:11 states that the life of the flesh is in the blood.
These are just a few examples, but they're part of a bigger story. So many people have noticed incredible changes in their health just by swapping out omega-6 rich oils for healthier alternatives. It's helped them with everything from joint pain to bone health, and some of them can hardly believe how much better they feel. Dr. O'Neill has helped countless people make these changes and get back to living their lives without the constant pain and stiffness they once thought they'd have to live with forever. All it took was a small shift in the oils they used every day, and it made all the difference. So, don't let misleading labels compromise your health. Choosing the right oils can help reduce inflammation, strengthen your bones, and improve your well-being. Have you made the switch to healthier oils? Share your experiences in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more valuable insights from Barbara O'Neill on natural health solutions. See you soon.